Hi, Ephraim. Chag
Good
Sameach Modim
afternoon.
L'Simcha.
מועדים לשמחה, חגים וזמנים וששון. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's pretty happy. I've had a good time. It's been really nice weather here.
Yeah. I was thinking about it. Somebody asked me, we got hosted by a family member, and they asked me, no, you come from Jerusalem, give us something, say something. From Jerusalem,
Yeah,
holy words. I said, listen, I don't have much to say, but there are two mitzvahs in the Torah where from the Torah that we have to do with our full body and fully
right.
presence. One of them is Sukkot, and the other one is Israel, the land of Israel. And they're
Right.
both directly connected in matter of bodily presence. A mitzvah just in matter of being present in a specific location. So
What about mikvah? What was mikvah a third one?
mikvah is like on the borderline. Mikvah is not really from the Torah. Like it's more rabbinical than it is from the
Right.
Torah.
You mean mitzvah, deraisa mitzvah
Yeah,
is
deraisa from the
Israel
Torah.
and Sukkot. Very good.
Yeah. So and then Sukkot is the only time where we say Zman Simchatenu. It's a time of happiness. It's the only holiday.
Yeah.
So there's a direct connection between Israel and Sukkah, and the idea of fully being present to happiness. It connects to what you said about mitzvah gedola liot b'simchat tamid, lihiyot, presence,
Yes.
right?
Right.
So there's a direct connection between the idea of being present to leading that to happiness. And I used your
Right.
quote, by the way.
Very good. Use my quote. Oh, good.
I used your quote.
Where do you put the comma in that famous saying?
Exactly.
Oh, very nice. Excellent.
Exactly. Yeah. So with that said, I think we have a lot of good
We
material
do.
here.
And it's going to be related to Sukkot. There's going to be a lot of dimensions and things, places, directions. It's a lot.
There's definitely a lot in this piece, but we have the two last pieces of the chapter.
Yeah, do we
So
get into the second chapter after this? I didn't notice. I
we
think
are
we do.
113, 114. 14 is the
Yeah.
last piece of the chapter. So
Wow, we've
hopefully we'll
covered
be
some
able to
great
finish
ground.
that today.
Yeah. All right, let's go for it.
Let's do it. Okay, Hebrew 113. Aleph, Perek Aleph, Mishnah Yud Gimel. Let's see. Okay, I got Rabbi Caplan here in Hebrew.
English.
Okay. בירר שלוש אותיות מן הפשוטות, בסוד שלוש אמות אמש, א' מ"ש, וקבעם בשמו הגדול וחתם בהם 6 קצוות, 5 חתם רום ופנה למעלה וחתמו בי' כ' ו', 6 חתם תחת ופנה למטה וחתמו בה' י' ו', 7 חתם מזרח ופנה לפניו וחתמו בו' י' ה', 8 חתם מערב ופנה לאחריו וחתמו בו' ה' י', 9 חתם דרום ופנה לימינו וחתמו בי' ו' ה', 10 חתם צפון ופנה לשמאלו וחתמו בה' ו' י'.
Okay, that was a lot.
Yeah.
Hashem, he chose 3 letters from among the elementals in the mystery of the 3 mothers, Aleph Mem Shin. And we've covered that in previous classes. And he set them in his great name, and with them he sealed the 6 extremities. 5 he sealed above and faced upward, and he sealed it with the Yud and the K, or we'll say Hey now, and Vav. And then 6 he sealed below, and he faced downward, and he sealed it with the Hey and the Yud and the Vav. And then 7 he sealed east and faced it straight ahead, and he sealed it with the Yud and the Vav and the Yud and the Hey. 8 he sealed west, faced backward, sealed it with the Vav and the Hey and the Yud. And 9 he sealed south, and he faced to the right, and sealed it with the Yud and the Vav and the Hey. And finally, 10 he sealed north, and he faced it with the left, and sealed it with the Hey and then the Vav and the Yud. So a lot of combination of names of Hashem, the name of Hashem in different permutations, and then different directions.
Very much so. Yeah, so it starts here with the first sentence, Birer shalosh otiyot min hapshutot. So it's really making an emphasis that God chose the 3 elementals from the 12 simples.
Mm-hmm.
He took them out. Like these are like the 3 important element letters, which is Aleph, Mem, and Shin, and they, as we spoke about in the first, I think our first class, the Aleph represents our parallels with the wind, and Mem parallels with water, and Shin parallels with fire, Esh.
Yes.
Now, I think what's new here is that Sefer Yetzirah is also saying that these 3 elementals are parallel with the 3 letters of God's name, Yud, Hey, Vav. While Yud,
is that the direct connection? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so that's the connection here. There's many connections, but I think the fundamental one is that.
Okay, so let me hold that up. So this is the way that we see it in this book is that Rabbi Ari Caplan is writing the Yud Hey Vav Hey right next to each one of them, all of those. So I think we're replacing the Aleph Mem and Shin with Yud K Vav.
Right. I don't know if I guess maybe you could say replacing. Maybe you could say they're parallel or they're
Parallel.
they resemble or they connect in one way or another. Maybe parallel is the right word in English.
I think so. That's a good one.
Yeah, so it's like Yud is like parallel with the sphere of Chokhmah, and Chokhmah is parallel with the concept of water, as we spoke beforehand. So water is Mem, right? Is the element of Mem, mine. And then Hey parallels with Binah. Hey parallels with the sphere of Binah, and Binah parallels with the concept of fire, which is Shin.
Yeah.
Then we have Vav, which parallels with Ruach or Avir, which is the Aleph, and also with the 6 other Sphirot.
Okay, I see that on table 12, right? Table 12.
Well, I think we probably have different.
Okay, let me hold that one up. This is exactly what you're saying. So there's the parallels.
Right. Yeah,
Perfect.
mine is 9.
Okay, I missed that when I read it. Very good.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and then it kind of takes like a step forward, and then it goes into the idea of the directions, 6 directions, or 6 permutation or combinations of the 3 letters Yud Hey Vav. So it takes us to the 6 directions, of which I think it was one of the previous Mishnahs where we spoke about the dimensions, right? That the south and the north, the east and the west, the up and down, depth, height, and low. And
well, how do you connect that to the sukkah? What would you say is the sukkah connection?
Yeah, so the sukkah connection is very interesting. So the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, the great Kabbalist of the mid-centuries of the 16th century or the 15th century, he takes this concept from Sefer Yetzirah and the permutation, the combination of the 3 letters of God's name, Yud Hey and Vav, and he connects that to the different directions in which we shake the Arbat HaMinim, the Lulav, the Etrog, the Adasim, the Aravot. Right? We do a shake to the to the right, to the left. I mean, there's different ways of customs ways of doing it.
Well, so I do forward, right, back, left, up, and down. That's how I do it.
Right. So the Arizal, he does it a bit differently, and he created a whole meditation on this. So in every direction, he connects the correct permutation or the correct combination of letters, and he meditates on those letters. So, for example, he starts with you're facing the east, and he starts with shaking to the right. That's to the south, and that represents Chesed, right? Chesed is on the right, and with that, he says the right combination for the right, for the south, is Yud Hey Vav. Is those 3 letters, Yud Hey Vav, and he meditate. I did that this morning for the first time.
Nice.
Meditate on those 3 letters, and then so on. He moved to the left, which is to the north, represents the Gvura, and those are the letters Hey Vav and Yud, and he meditates on those. He visualizes. He says to visualize them and to kind of like meditate on those levels while you're shaking 3 times, representing 3 letters of Hashem's name. It's all he's connecting all the pieces together. And so on, and then to the front and up and down and to the back. And they all represent the 6 directions and 6 basic directions in space. Right?
Does he quote the Sefer Yetzirah? Do you know if he quotes it?
I think so. I looked over it last week. I don't remember if he quotes it. It'd
be interesting what his source was. Shar Kavanot, okay.
Of Rabbi Chaim Vital.
Yes.
I'm sure he does. I don't remember though.
Okay, great. That's great. Well, Rabbi Caplan really writes out everything in this book. So I mean, we both of us can't recommend this book enough. You're not going to get it in Hebrew. The last one's over there on that screen.
Yeah.
But in English, you can still get it. Can't recommend it enough.
Caplan, he's the person who he was a perfect rabbi to introduce us to the modern thinker.
Yeah.
He just took all the previous commentaries and different Kabbalists, and he just gathered them into one huge masterpiece here. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's what's really interesting about this piece. It's connecting, the letters of God and parallel with kind of like the 3 elementals of creation.
Yes.
And with the idea of Sukkot, of the Lulav, and the directions in which we shake the Lulav. to really kind of like connect to those energies of the directions within space while connecting them, uniting them with God's name.
You're right. Uniting them with God's name is the major idea.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and what else? What does he say? Rabbi Caplan here, he says, what else does he say here?
Oh, let's show everybody the diagram from the Ari of shaking the lulav and etrogs. Let me hold that up there.
Oh yeah, that's right. He has that here.
That's great.
That's great. Exactly. So that explains it really well. You can
Yeah.
see the different combinations of the different letters in each direction, right? Yud Hey Vav is on the right there, top right.
When I read through this, I didn't connect this to an actual meditation on lulav and etrog. I thought it was just a map. So this is what he was visualizing when he stood and was doing lulav and etrog. Excellent.
Yeah, he would. Rabbi Caplan mentions it here, like briefly, a few sentences. Yeah, he would really meditate on these combinations.
Great.
Rabbi Caplan also mentions here, he views the three elementals as in a more philosophical language, where he says it's kind of like there's the thesis, antithesis, and synthesis.
Yeah.
Basically, Yud and Hey, the letters Yud and Hey. Yud would be if it's parallel to Chokhmah, Yud would be the thesis, and in contrast would be the antithesis, would be Hey, Bina, right? It's contrast to Chokhmah.
Yeah, so let's say Chokhmah on one side, Bina on the other side.
Bina on the other side, exactly. And then what connects between them? What is that? What is a synthesis? Is Vav. Is the letter Vav.
Okay, Vav. And Vav does mean and or connection in Hebrew, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
In Hebrew, there's the idea of Vav HaChibur, the connecting Vav.
Connecting Vav.
Yeah, Vav it connects between two contrasts, always, even in the Hebrew language, even the modern Hebrew language today. So the Vav is an interesting one. Remember I told you once about Rabbi Abulafa's student, Rabbi Joseph Gikatilia. He wrote about the word Hatikva, hope. And he connected that, Gikatilia finds that Vav stands in the center of the nation of Israel returning back to its land. The word Hatikva. And he finds that since the Vav in the word Hatikva, which means hope, he says through hope, Israel can return back to its land. In other words, like what connects between the two contracts of the land of Israel and exile, right? They're two opposites, contrasts, is the letter Vav. Is Hatikva, is hope, that connecting between those two contracts. And that's connected between Keter and Malchut. So Vav is an important connection point. We also have that,
I'm glad you brought up Gikatilia, because I brought the other student of Abulafia, Rabbi Isaac of Akko. This is a great book by Ethan Fishbane. He's a professor, I believe, at NYU. I'll get that information later. But anyways, he did not say, in the Abulafia system, he said to visualize it more. So I thought that was really good for today, about visualizing the letters, a lot like what these Mishnayot are saying now in Sefer Yetzirah. And so he has all these concepts of picturing the name of Hashem, and picturing the different combinations, but not necessarily saying them out loud or writing them, but using the mind for it. I thought that was a really interesting take that he had on Abulafia's system.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was who? That was Rabbi Yitzchak of Akko?
Yitzchak of Akko, yes. Me'irat Einayim is the name of his Sefer, which is kind of hard to find. I think I found it on that same website that you found Rabbi Caplan's book. But
oh, really?
Yeah, because I think Me'irat Einayim is a commentary on Sefer Yetzirah.
I think so.
That'll be my next purchase.
I think you're right. Well, that's very interesting. Yeah, so that's really all I have here.
I just thought one really interesting thing was that, especially for today's world, he was talking about the determination of the order, the opposites of the directions, and the Ari was talking about that their two prime opposites are called oneg, meaning delight, and nega, which means plague.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, does that speak to 2020 or what?
Oh, nega. I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah.
Interesting. I did not think about it that way.
So what are we as Jewish people or humans supposed to do about this plague, where we can get past it and see some silver lining in it? There must be some silver lining in it. But, how do we get the opposite, where we build a better society from this? I don't know how you do that, but I feel like that's the message I take for 2020 is out of this oneg, this nega, can we rearrange the letters to oneg?
Well, building off of that, maybe we could say that since oneg and nega are two contrasts and are opposites, but they're also the same letters, right? Nun, gimel, and ayin.
Yeah.
It's just one other way around. Maybe we could say vav is again the connecting point. In other words, hatikva, the hope.
The hope. There you go. Very good. I like
hope
that.
Could be connecting between the two.
Yeah.
In other words, what is hope? Hope is faith. It's emunah, right? It's
yes.
Just,
the emunah that you can take a plague and turn it into an oneg. Also, I mean, I feel like Sukkot for me has been a break for all the intensity of this plague. And Sukkot 2020 has really been a way for me to reset myself and try to stay positive through the whole thing.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Nega and oneg.
Leave that for the year 2020.
Good connection.
All right, let's get 14.
14, okay, let's do it. אלו 10 ספירות בלימה, אחת רוח אלוהים חיים, רוח מרוח, מים מרוח, אש ממים, רום ותחת, מזרח ומערב, צפון ודרום.
Yeah, so these are the 10 spirit of nothingness, the breath of the living God, breath from breath, water from breath, fire from water, up, down, east, west, north, south. So again, directions that way. I don't know what your thoughts were. When I read through this, it seemed very similar to ones we've read before. Again, he's talking a lot about visualization, which I thought was interesting for Rabbi Isaac of Akko. But I didn't pull too much new concepts. Did you pull some other ideas from this?
No, to me overall, this Mishnah sounds like kind of like a summarizing the end of the chapter. Kind of like Elu esel sfirot b'madi. So these are the 10 sfirot, because all our previous chapters we were breaking down the sfirot, esel sfirot blima, 10 spirits of nothingness, and then 1 and 2 and 3. We went through different parts of the sfirot and different directions and dimensions. And to me, it kind of sounds like, okay, so these were the 10 sfirot, and I kind of summarize 1, Ruach Elohim, as we spoke about, that's Keter, right?
Yes.
And Ruach Meruach, that's Malchut. So, it summarized that Keter and Malchut are directly connected. It's reason and outcome, or reason and result.
I remember that, yep, very good.
And then, right, Ruach Mayim Meruach, that's water. We said that's Chochmah, Esh Memayim, fire, Binah, Rom V'Tachat, and then it goes into the 6 directions in space, up and down, east and west, north and south.
Yes. Very good. There were a couple of things here about Chachma consciousness, Bina consciousness, which I thought were very interesting. We talked about a little bit about this yesterday in a different class, but for all the things about Sefer Yetzirah and consciousness and different levels of meditation, I've come to the point where, I don't know, meditation or its different levels don't really speak to me, but if there's a better relationship to Hashem, if you can use this book to have a better relationship, there's got to be, I think that's why Judaism doesn't believe in unio mystica, that somehow somebody becomes one with God. I see that in a lot of different other mystical systems, but I wouldn't even want that. The whole thing, like you're saying, is contrast. Chachma and Bina, or human and Hashem. There's a relationship. That's what's interesting, is the relationship, not just opposites being destroyed or obliviated into just oneness. I don't think that's what oneness means.
Right. The relationship, I think, is an important word here. I think that's well said to describe what it is we're doing here. There's one interesting thing that Rabbi Caplan says here that I actually found to be, actually, while I'm reading it now, it's maybe the most important message in this whole chapter, to me at least. And he basically say that in Hebrew, when the Hebrew is written without any nikud, without any, how do you say nikud in English?
Vowel points.
Without any vowel points, you could read it generally in 2 ways. You could read it as a third party telling you what to do, as kind of like guidance to yourself, or you could read it as what it is. And he's giving like a good example here where when it describes, it quotes here, I don't remember which Mishnah is this, but it quotes, this is a previous one, 13. So it's chet, taf, and mem. So you could read it as chatam, as past tense. In other words, God engraved, chakak.
Okay.
But you could also read it as chakok, v'chatzov. It's telling you to engrave.
Wow.
It's telling me.
I like that.
Chakok, in other words, as an instruction from the author to us.
Wow, that's
chakok
excellent.
V'chatzov. So, and it's exact same letters. It's just different nikud. So to me, that's like maybe the most important message is like, we're learning, and we're learning about the theory of creation. Maybe this is what God did and this is how he did it. But it can also be read exactly in the same way on what it is that we need to do as individuals.
That's excellent. Well, you could also you can see the Torah happened in the past or it's happening now.
That too, right?
Well, we were joking about this, not joking, but I was relating this thought I had about when they said they made the golem, how that they said they made a new person, and I was thinking that, well, maybe somebody just misheard the teacher who said through Sefer Yetzirah you can engrave and visualize and use your creative imagination to create yourself, almost create a new person. But somebody was kind of off to the side saying, "Oh, you can create a new person? That's amazing! I'll tell all my friends." So I like what you're saying to connect that to the vowels. Is that you could look at it, that's only something Hashem does, or you could read it as, no, you have that co-creator power, and you can create yourself and your environment, and you can engrave with your mind and visualize and put it into action.
Right. And that's why I think this probably, the Sefer Yetzirah is more of a meditative, Kabbalistic, writing rather than a magical or practical.
I think so. So that I was actually going to tell you, there's one area I disagree with Rabbi Caplan on. Rabbi Kaplan's blessed memory. I'm just disagreeing with his idea, but sometimes he puts in astrological applications. I just don't see any merit to astrology. So I just wanted to say that if people read the book and they see the astrology pieces, I'm just more of a Maimonidean. It's right at the end of the chapter. He talks about what are the astrological implications of this technique. And he'll describe them in chapters 4 and 5. And I'm just more of a Maimonidean on astrology. I read the books in Barnes & Noble to see if they might be true and can help me out with tomorrow. I'm just kidding. But they are in Barnes & Noble. They're interesting, but I don't see any actual merit to astrology. So I disagree with that piece.
Well, he says he's going to get into it later on in the book.
We'll see what he says.
So maybe he'll convince you.
I'm open. I just don't see how where Saturn and Jupiter have affected my life, but who knows?
Exactly. We might be surprised. I don't know. I mean,
I'm always open to hearing any reasonable idea. But anyways, I just wanted to point that out. That just going on what you said, that it's not about magical thinking or what's the phrase people use today? Manifesting. I don't believe in manifesting or using the mind to magically create the world or create wealth or something. I mean, you have to work. You just have to work at something and practice. It's not so romantic. It's much more romantic to manifest your destiny or something, but it's just a practical guide, of everyday practices.
Yeah, well, I think where people get confused, kind of like with the idea of manifesting with your mind, is where there's a line between, like, you could start with manifesting something in your mind, but that's supposed to lead to action and reality.
There you go.
Right. So, but the problem is that you kind of left with, like, okay, I just need to be dreaming about it, and then I won't take any action.
Yeah.
But it has to come together. Those are. By the way, again, it's the two contrasts. It's about action and mind. Those are two opposites where they need to come together.
Just going back to your original point, Chachma is manifesting, Bina is building. If you just forget Bina,
there we go.
You're just sitting in your house Chachma all the time. You're not gonna build.
Exactly. So that's there we have it.
Excellent, great session. And for everybody at home, we are now on chapter 2. We're making progress.
Chapter 2. So we have 5 more to go, I think, right?
Yeah. The house of 3D.
There's definitely a long way to go, but we'll get there.
We got, God willing, we have time, and I think we have a really good pace.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into some great stuff. I remember some of these this book is so filled with charts and ideas, and we're really going to get into the Abulafia system of the full permutations. I just passed it. We're going to get into all these. This is my favorite stuff. All those charts on the permutations. Talk about how, they applied it, how I think it can be applied today. There's going to be some good stuff coming up. Stick with us, viewers out there enjoying our videos. We love seeing that there's at least 100, 150 views a week on these.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So, I'm so glad to talk with you, Ephraim. It's been a pleasure, a bracha.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to use the Arizal meditation on the Lulav, tomorrow is your last day, I think.
Hoshana Rabbah.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Tomorrow's the last day, tomorrow morning.
So
please use it.
I've tried it today for the first time, and it was a good meditation. So
I bleed netter, but I'm going to use it tomorrow morning.
It's good.
Awesome. I didn't even I glossed right over that chart. I had no idea what it was saying, and I'm glad we went over it.
Yeah, for sure. Perfect timing.
All right.
Okay.
Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach.